Hi everyone, welcome to Accelerate webinar. My name is Millie and I'm very glad to see you all. Well, I can't see you, but to host tonight this webinar together with my colleague Andy.
Thanks, Millie. Hi everyone, I'm Andy. I work on the marketing team here at Udacity and yeah, glad to be joining you all tonight.
Yeah, we have been preparing so much for the past few months, and yeah, we are now counting down the days here at the office, literally. And yeah, I would like to now share the screen and start with our presentation. And the first thing that we will do is to explain a little bit the format of this webinar. So we can go forward. Yes, this webinar will last around 50 minutes to 1 hour, and we will construct it in a way that we have input for you, some tips and tricks and also information as well. And then we will open up for the Q&A session. And for you to know, this webinar will be conducted in English. One of the reasons is that, first of all, we have people coming at this event from more than 22 countries around Europe. So we are very excited to see this international perspective of the event. The webinar will be recorded, so we will follow up already tomorrow with all the resources and link to the webinar so that you can rewatch it and use the resources that we mentioned. And here you can see a little bit the guidelines, how you can join the chat and actually post your questions that we will pick up later and try to answer. Yeah, so let's go for it. First, let's cover some of the most important information that are covering also logistics. So we will meet on March 16th, so very soon. And the event is going to start, well, we will open the doors from 12 o'clock. So we are expecting for you to come already around 12. And from 12 to 13, we will be doing registration. And as you see, it's going to be a long and eventful day for all of us. So it's going to be until 8 p.m. approximately. Where? So we chose a very nice location that is central in Berlin. It is right next to the Spree River. You can see here the address. We will be sharing this. And since we are very close to Warschau Straße, a lot of S-Bahns and traffic is going through this part of the city. So there's not going to be any problem for you to actually come from airports and central station whatsoever. So yeah, we will also, if you need, share some advice how to get there. But yeah, this is where we will meet in a couple of weeks. Now, who is coming? From the student part, we are expecting people and graduates coming from self-driving car engineering nanodegree program, artificial intelligence, machine learning engineering, business analyst, and data analyst. So this is a group of students that have been invited. And this is one of the kind of events that we are now starting around different let's say fields and industries, and bringing in the interesting hiring partners that can actually support careers of our graduates. And to follow up on that, when talking about hiring partner companies, you have already seen the lineup. These companies have been confirmed, and all of the representatives of this company will be joining us. And I will just add one note for those who are now wondering where Daimler is. We are still in progress with reaching out to students. It's a bit delayed, so you can expect them to be reaching out in the last moment. Unfortunately, this was a complex process for both sides. Therefore, we expect that it will be a little bit delayed, and towards the end of the next week, you will be hearing from them. And now, finally, like a lot of number of people ask us what is actually going to happen today, and this is when we reveal our agenda that we will be working for. We have been working a long time for. So, as I said, we will be opening doors around 12 o'clock. Please be punctual so that we can kind of do the registration very smoothly and see who is coming. There will be refreshment waiting for you, so you can have drinks, eat something, and be all set for the day to start. We will do a very short welcome, and then Andy will lead I'm very excited about this, company pitches. So we will have all of the company representatives on the stage telling you why you should go and work for them. Yeah, very excited. We will have a break, and that's where we will separate. Basically, we will have already separate rooms, one that is going to completely be dedicated to the interviews, and that's where when the first round of interviews is going to start. Whereas in other room, separate room, the parallel sessions and program is going to happen. In that room, you can expect to see info stands. So all the companies will be placed there, and you will be able to talk to representatives through the whole day. And there is going to be a place for workshops. This is very important to say because as a follow-up, we will ask you also to sign up for these workshops that are very career-focused. We chose these two topics of personal branding and a pitch training because we believe that you can always practice this, and this is like an evergreen topic that we can actually now put into practice and do very nice sessions where you can participate and learn. We will have a special recruiter joining us for the personal branding topic, and then you will learn actually how to make yourself visible, and once you actually get the attention of the employees, how to pitch yourself and your story better. Of course, let's not forget we have Udacity Corner, and that's your chance to meet our team here from Berlin. We will be organizing for you a lot of interesting topics that are on our agenda. We will be asking you also for feedback, and generally just, we are very eager to meet you, so don't be afraid to join us. I'm very happy to now announce also after this long rounds of interviews and sessions that are done, we will then gather all together for a fireside chat with Matthias Meiner. He will be joining us from the Lilium Jet. It is a very, let's say, innovative company that will share with us the success story. And yeah, you can search a little bit. I'm not going to reveal all of it, but they are let's say, the world's first electric jet. They will talk a little bit of the company and inventions in this field. And after this chat is done, we will just chillax with beers, cheers, and careers, the part of the event where we just expect to relax all together, network, and close this day. So this is a lot of information to take. So we will be sharing, as I said. And now let's go to the part where we will discuss a little bit how to prepare best before the event even happens. I will give now the floor to Andy.
Cool, thanks, Millie. So yeah, welcome everyone. Really excited to be meeting so many of you in Berlin in just a few weeks' time. Coming up, the next kind of like 15 minutes or so, I'll briefly run through some tips and advice for getting sorted and getting prepared for the event. And so, one of the things that I think is worth mentioning before we dive in is that presenting yourself to employer is pretty much a marketing activity. It's really about making the best first impression. It's about having the right materials in place, and it's about having the right things and formats in place to be able to give the best impression to these employers that are recruiting on the day of the event. And hopefully some of these tips are not just applicable for the event itself, but also applicable for the wider job search and your career as a whole. So thinking ahead, before the event, there are a few things that you definitely want to have lined up and have taken care of before you come to the event itself. So firstly, you want to make sure that your online presence is in good shape. And so that might be your LinkedIn profile. It might be your GitHub profile if you're applying for technical jobs, which I'm imagining most of you will be. And one of the quotes that I really like is by Jeff Bezos, who's the founder of Amazon, and he talks about how your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And so thinking about that for a second, you want to consider basically what the companies might find out about you online before they meet you, and what would they then be saying about you if they found your LinkedIn profile or your online website or your GitHub profile. You know, what is the impression that you're making based on your online footprint? So make sure that you have your online presence, give it a bit of an audit and update it before the event to make sure that it's really putting your best foot forward and showcasing your most relevant skills, your most relevant projects, and make sure that it's aligned with the type of career progression that you are pursuing. Next up, I would say that you want to make sure that you have lots of copies of your CV on hand. Make sure that you've printed those out and bring them in a folder of some kind so that they're not crumpled, and then you can give those out on the day of the event itself. The next thing is that you really want to make sure that you have done your background research on the companies and make sure that you have lots of questions prepared to ask of the employers that are going to be in attendance. One of the things that is always so important is to be prepared with relevant questions. And I think that very, very often when companies are recruiting, they will judge candidates almost more by the quality of the questions that they ask, even more so than the quality of the answers that they provide in the questions that they ask of you. And so having those questions prepared is going to be really important. As a really basic thing, make sure that you've got everything prepared the day before in terms of how you're going to get to the venue, knowing what you're going to wear, and just make sure that you're going to be on time, and those basic things, because making a first impression is always really important, and unfortunately you don't get a second chance at first impressions. At the event itself, we suggest that you don't bring any bulky backpacks, just so that you're not knocking over any of the stands or anything like that on the day itself. And make sure you bring your business cards, your CVs, as I said. And we just suggest that you wear a smart casual look. This is not a formal event by any means, but obviously it is a professional event, and so we suggest that you dress appropriately for that. Okay, so moving ahead, as they say, fail to prepare and prepare to fail, and so hence why we suggest that you have done a lot of research ahead of time around the companies that are coming, and make sure that you're prepared for any conversations that you might have. And so where you should research these types of things are, of course, you want to be looking at the various companies' websites. I believe that Millie has already sent out the links to each of the company's careers websites, and on there you'll find lots of information around what their mission is, what the values are of the company, what they value when they're looking for new people, and you want to be well researched in terms of the products that they're working on, what their strategy is, the size of the company, how fast they're growing, who the key people are in the various teams. All of these things are going to be really important for you to piece together different parts of the puzzle so that you can be well informed and have a meaningful conversation with the employers on the day itself. And also, much of this research is going to help you shape the questions that you're going to want to know. How are they bringing a particular product to market? What are the technologies that are being used on a particular product? How does certain aspects of the company culture manifest itself on a day-to-day basis? All these things are going to be really important. And we also suggest that you check out our Udacity blog. So that's eu.udacity.com/blog. And on there, we have a couple of interviews from a couple of the hiring partners. So we've already got interviews on there from Audi, SAP, and Jaguar Land Rover. And each of the blogs are titled "How to Land a Job at That Particular Company." And so there's lots of information in there where the companies have shared some insights around what they look for when hiring. One of the things that I also wanted to share with you is one particular tactic or strategy that I've used in the past for organizing your research. Having all the research accumulated into one place is going to be really, really helpful for you, so that you're organized ahead of time and then also after the event as well. So my particular tool of choice is called Trello. I imagine many of you are probably familiar with it. It's a really versatile tool, and can be used for all sorts of project management or note-taking or almost any use case you can think of. On Trello's own blog, they have a whole bunch of use cases where people use it for organizing their holidays, or using it for agile project development, or using it for organizing a house move. So it really is versatile across any use case you can imagine, from personal to work. In this case, I've structured it so that it can be used for your job research. And so the way that the tool works is we have various columns. So I've structured it as to research, to approach at their booth, given that there's going to be companies who are obviously they're going to have exhibition stands on the day of the event at Accelerate. Companies that you're waiting to hear from, so awaiting response. Companies that you have arranged an interview with already. Companies that you want to follow up with. And then hopefully, at some point, maybe you will have some offers from some of these companies. And so you can give each company a card. So you could add a new card, as you can see here. So you could call this one Audi, for example. You could call this one Jaguar Land Rover. And then within each card, you can then collect all the information that you need. And so in here, you have a description field where I would suggest you can paste in the links to the relevant job descriptions that they have available that you might be interested in. You can paste in the links to their to the various websites or resources that you've researched, whether that be their blog posts or press releases or anything. And you can make any of your additional notes as well. Around any of the like key topic areas that might be of interest to you. And I've started off a research checklist here as well. So who are the key people? What are the company's values? What are the products they're working on? Who are their competitors, and how does this company differentiate? And do you have 3 to 5 impactful questions prepared to ask them when you meet them? So you can really get prepared within this card. You can then add labels to the card. So I've predefined some color-coded labels here. So this company might be super interesting to you. They might be quite interesting, but you need more information, and so therefore you can have your questions prepared as to exactly what information you want to gather from them. You could say this one looks okay, but you need more convincing. You can define these labels as you best see fit, and then down below you have like comments that you can input. So here you can keep a running timeline of the communication that you've had with the company. So you could add a comment and you could say like emailed the recruiter today, expecting to hear back in 2 days' time. And then you save that, and then that gets saved with a date stamp. And then you could then even set a due date as well. So you could set the due date for Monday, which would be 2 working days' time. So you could save that. And then you can drag these cards across the columns. And so eventually you end up with a working board of all the companies that you're researching, which stage of your job search funnel they're at, and with all of the notes combined in one place, which is easy to refer back to. this really, this could be applied to any tool. So this is Trello, which is my tool of choice. But you could really do this in any of your kind of favorite note-taking apps, whether that be Evernote or just a simple Google Doc would also do. But this for me, I think, it offers the most flexibility in terms of the features. So jumping back to the slides now. One of the things that you then also want to do, having researched the companies as a whole and probably the industry trends as well, which is really important, because you want to be well informed about where the industry is heading and maybe have some opinions to share with the companies, and also to be able to ask them about how they are viewing the industry as a whole. You want to be informed about what they're hiring for, and so make sure you take a look at their available opportunities. And identify the roles where your skills and your interests are overlapping with their requirements. One thing that's really important to bear in mind is that you do not have to match their requirements to 100%. Absolutely not. There's even data where, unfortunately, men view themselves applicable for a job role if they match 80% of the requirements, whereas women only view a job role applicable to them if they match 60% of the requirements. And so, that gives you an idea as to how people perceive themselves and their ability to fulfill the requirements of an employer. So just bear in mind that you really don't need to match all the requirements, but if you see an overlap and an interest, then just be prepared to talk about your previous experience and where your skills do overlap. And also how that previous experience can then be applied to the current employer and to their challenges that they're facing. So just some tips there to bear in mind. I'm going to pass back to Millie, who is going to run through some advice about how you can prepare yourself to actually have conversations with the employers on the day.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. This was very great, and this is what I call getting very well prepared for the event. So once you do this homework, as I like to say it, so you did your homework, then you will have the chance to actually talk to the company representatives, and it is very important that you prepare your elevator pitch. Elevator pitch is actually a quick synopsis of your background and experience. It is the speech, or let's say, the talk that is all about you, who you are, what you do, and what you want to do, especially when you are searching for a job. The reason that it's called an elevator speech, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but it is the idea that you should be able to present and showcase what you have done so far during a brief elevator ride. And it is very important to keep the intro part very short and make the rest of interaction a conversation, actually. This is your time where you have a few minutes with the company representative to actually start a conversation. And the idea is that the more you practice, the easier it becomes. It is very important that you write out and know what you are going to talk about. I'm sure you are already aware of. But this is why we emphasize, we have already sent to you a list of questions that companies shared with us. So why don't we use that list and actually prepare? Because it's the questions that we shared are very diverse and they are all about you. So take your time to go through them and really reflect how you can showcase and present yourself best when answering those. One not a bad idea is to actually record yourself. Even now with us, talking to a webinar is being recorded, it's not easy. So, but I think you get used. The more you're exposed, you get used to it. So definitely record. We have those apps that can, just do voice memos to them and listen and see how you can improve. The formula, as I said, is like a short intro, choosing the right question to ask to kind of start a conversation. And then if you're still struggling with this specific topic, what I would advise you, we still have 2 weeks. Please book appointment with career counselor. And if you don't have a link, I will send after this webinar, and you can have a 30-minute prep appointment where you can actually see the job that you like, go through the questions, and kind of prepare the elevator pitch for the event itself. We wanted to share with you a little bit how to actually construct this and to give you a few ideas of actually what to say. It is very important that you clarify for yourself, first of all, what type of role you're looking for. And try to, we get this a lot from hiring partners, they want to see your motivation. And once you get to transmit that, you're a winner. So the more you do research and you kind of connect with the role, it's going to be easier for you to explain why you are a right fit and to explain your interest around the field. Don't forget to actually explain why you took this nano degree, because many of you took months and months of learning beside your regular jobs. And I think this is something that you should really emphasize, because it takes a lot of sacrifice and grit to fulfill this. And I think, yeah, this is your secret weapon as well. Try to elaborate as much as you can on your experience, giving like the real examples of what you have done actually so far. And I think the student profile that you already have is a perfect portfolio of the projects that you have done. So you can kind of identify the ones that you feel strong about, the ones that are most recent, and actually talk about them and connect them to the role that they are searching for. Well, the skills that they are searching for. It is also good to showcase also your let's say personal skills. It's of course important to show your technical, but it is going to be also important to if you remember the questions that we shared, how do you fit into company's culture? How do you fit in their teamwork? So all of this, you know, don't forget to include the soft skills that are relevant to your jobs. And yeah, the way to do it, there are different tests online that you could do a little bit to, if you need a little bit of help to identify what's soft skills. We can share with you a few interesting websites where you can kind of answer a few questions and get what are your strengths, and you can kind of build up around that. Now back to the asking the right question. I think this is something that, yeah, everybody can learn more and more. But it's very important that you know what types of questions actually enrich the conversation. Try to involve company representative. Try to really make a conversation after this, because many of us, you know, we are so focused when coming there that we impress someone that actually they can sometimes be very, let's say, dangerous position, because then you don't actually, you know, acknowledge the needs of the company, or you don't show that you're actually listening what their point of view is. So I would say that keep it to open-ended questions. So don't ask questions that are yes and no, because it's a conversation killer. Connect with your honest interests, like ask questions that you're actually curious about. And many of the questions that you have submitted just for this webinar are actually, you know, a perfect example what you could ask representatives. For example, the future of AI, or other questions that are kind of a little bit around the industry, like, or even asking the representatives, companies, what could the potential PhD research topics could be at the companies. This is all very nice questions that kind of can lead to a very nice conversation, and you can get a lot of input from the company directly. So we shared a little bit, few examples. I also like what excites you more about working at a company. It kind of deals with the culture and what they also value, so you can kind of build up on that and explain, oh, really, you know, I have also discovered during my work, and I really feel also well in this kind of environment, etc., etc. So try to kind of approach it naturally. even though these things require practice. And then I will give a final tips. It's what we also forget most of the time, is like how we present, how do we bring our physical self also to the event. It is very important, like keep smiling or whatever happens, like please don't be afraid. You know, this is a nice environment where the errors are also permitted. We are there to support you if you have any doubts. So you have a big peer support and Udacity team around you. So I think this is already kind of a good basis for you to approach this event very also relaxed. Don't forget to shake hands at the beginning and the end of conversation. Try to keep focused, and yeah, try to convince them with your body postures that you are also secure about what you're talking, because this is, you know, also kind of confirm that your body tells a lot about yourself or your kind of position and state of mind. So don't be afraid to speak clearly and to be heard. In these kind of events, it can get loud, even though we will have a dedicated space for the interview. So this shouldn't be the case. But if you're standing at the info booth, try to kind of make yourself visible and to kind of take space for yourself. The final tip is also, it's a kind of our also here joke at the team when we go to events. Get the business card. You give for every given business card, you should get a business card. And this is something that you have to keep in mind. Get all the recruiters' information because this is going to be important for you to follow up. Thank you. I mean, thank to the companies, and also don't be afraid to suggest a time to chat and to follow up. So this was kind of for us. Introduction is what to do before the event and how to prepare. We know that some of you will have interviews. Some of you will come without an interview, and this is going to be a big opportunity for you to actually network. And it doesn't mean that, you know, if you don't get any interview that you don't have a chance to meet companies. Please use this advice that you really use this time with companies, and all the tips that we are giving are kind of addressing both audiences, and everything that we say here can be used, you know, you're presenting yourself to the recruiter, but also to whoever is standing behind the info booth. Now a little bit about at the event itself. So what you can expect when you get there. We will have, as I said, 10 companies who will bring at least 2. This is a minimum 2 representatives each. And it is important for you to know that different profiles will be coming. So we will have from senior manager recruiters to senior technical recruiters. We will have managers of software engineering, and many different people from different departments of the company will be joining us. And this is very interesting, let's say, a set of skills that they are also bringing in with them for a good chat, even without any, you know, interview. It's just like to learn from them something new. We expect around 100 students. They are all your peers. They share your interests. So they are also valuable resource for you. You will be able to approach the hiring representatives at these info booths. And yeah, this is the time where you will actually, you know, practice your pitch and start all the conversation. Then we will have a booth that will be separated for the pre-scheduled interviews. And some of the companies have already indicated waiting lists. So we will have a timekeeper and people who will help you get all the directions so that you know which company is where, and to kind of manage in case someone does not show up, that kind of just filling those slots that are empty and create opportunity for someone else. So yeah, we will try to coordinate it as possible, as best we can. And the last but not least, yeah, the setup is going to be that in one part of the venue, we will have workshops, student success stories, and Udacity Corner, where we expect you to come and, yeah, learn more. Andy, do you want to share a little bit what we collected on tips for on the day of?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, a few do's and don'ts just to run through here. You know, one thing that I just want to reiterate is that you know, some of these might seem trivial, but one thing that we consistently hear at Udacity from our hiring partners is that so often when they speak with candidates from, you know, from all sources, not just Udacity graduates, is that the technical skills are very often not the issue. It's very often, you know, about how candidates communicate themselves, how they present their skills, and so, you know, all of these tips are just meant to, you know, reiterate the fact that the soft skills are as equally important as the technical skills on a day like Accelerate. And so, yeah, that's just something I wanted to reiterate there, is that it's something that we get consistent feedback on from our hiring partners. And so, yeah, we trust their opinions when it comes to what they're looking for. And so a couple of do's. Remember that it is a networking opportunity, and so speak with everyone. You know, all the employers, all the Udacity staff, all the other, all of your peers that are going to be there, are all a great source of information and contacts. You know, just because the employers are the ones there who are presenting career opportunities doesn't mean that, you know, one of your peers who is also a Udacity student or graduate might know someone who's looking for, you know, somebody like you in terms of a career opportunity. And so you never know what kind of introductions people are able to make. And so use it as an opportunity to meet as many people as possible. And with that in mind, always have your pitch prepared and have some questions in mind to answer. You know, as I said, it's about you know, trying to be interesting and be interested. Make sure that you're interested in the other person. And I think that's one of the biggest tips that I can offer, is that the people that are going to be talking to you on this day are looking for a reason to hire you, because they want you to provide value to them. And so whenever you're communicating your skills and whenever you're communicating you know, your previous experience, position it in a way as such that you are bringing value to that employer. And so that's just one way to just reframe how you communicate about it. An example of that is you know, asking questions from you know, saying, oh, you know, like, what will I get in this role, or what will I be provided with, versus saying, you know, what are the challenges that you're facing as a company, and, you know, trying to figure out how your skills can be applied to that. And so it's just shifting the conversation from realizing that you are almost the service provider. And so, you know, I think about it how you know, how a consultant would do, almost in that sense. You know, you are the ones that are pitching yourselves to the company. You know, you're not then asking an opportunity of them. And so, yeah, just bring your best self. You know, this is a chance to make a great impression. It's going to be a great day. So please just remember to enjoy it as well. You know, we're all there to make fun, have connections. And you know, at the end of the day, there's going to be, you know, a chance to mingle, and it's going to be a bit more relaxed and informal as well. So even if it does seem a little bit stressful just during the afternoon, remember there's some relaxed drinks and an opportunity to chat informally coming in the evening as well, and some really good food as well. I've been told by Millie.
Oh yes, I was selecting the menu.
And so, yeah, finally, just remember to take some breaks as well. You know, as we said, there's going to be snacks and refreshments available, so take them when you need it. Make sure that you make opportunity to write some notes, and also you know, make sure that you're just keeping track of who you've spoken to. You know, part of the trick with these kinds of events is following up afterwards, and so remembering who you've spoken to, what you spoke to them about. And then also following up on any action points that that get set to you is going to be really important. We're hoping for a good day, and so it is going to be right by the Spree in Berlin, which on a sunny day is amazing. So fingers crossed for good weather as well. So moving on to after the event. So as we've said, make sure that you bring enough copies of your CV and your resume, and make sure that you exchange contact details so that you can follow up with everyone afterwards. As I've already said, just to reiterate, make sure that you take your notes on the day. And if you don't manage to take notes during the session itself, make sure you just create some time, perhaps in the evening or at the very latest the day after, just to type everything up and make sure that you've got all your thoughts down from the day. It's always best practice to send a thank you email, just as a matter of courtesy. The sooner the better. Just to thank the people for their time that you've met, and follow up with maybe an expression of your interest if you're interested in continuing the conversation. Make sure that you follow up with any action items if you promise to send them over any further details about the projects that you've worked on or anything else that they might ask of you. Being timely with all these communications is going to really set you apart from other candidates that they're also considering outside of Accelerate.
Good.
So
yeah. So now it's the part when we open up the floor for your questions. So feel free to post on the chat. We are now monitoring, and yeah, I hope we will be able to answer most of them. Yeah, and I wanted to give just a last teaser if you're still doubting to join or not, that we have information that couple of our hiring partners will bring actually cars with them. So when you go to take some air, there will be also 2 cars to check just right to the Spree River. So I hope this is a nice teaser for you as well. So yeah, don't be shy. Ask us questions, whatever is on your mind.
Whilst we're waiting for the first questions to come in, one tip that I forgot to share earlier is if an employer asks you a question, one really good framework on how to answer that question is using what's called the STAR technique. And STAR is an acronym for situation, task, action, and result. And so basically that would mean that if they ask you a question of, can you give me an example of a time when you had to do X? And then using that framework, you would set the situation. So you would say, in my previous role, there was this particular situation, and explain the details around that. As a result of this situation, I had to do this, which is then the task that you're explaining. Explain then what actions you took to complete that task, and then follow that up with the result. And so that's just an easy framework that you can then follow as a way to answer any questions in a succinct manner. Always remember that the quality of the communication, there's an art to knowing when to stop talking as well as when to keep talking. And so if you feel like you've answered their question, remember to take a pause, breathe, and you don't need to feel awkward about any silence that might follow. So yeah, hopefully that's a quick tip there on how to answer their questions.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So we have a few questions in line. Praveen said, can we still expect to get interviews scheduled with companies, or is this phase already concluded? As I said, there are still partners reaching out. We tried to put some strict deadlines. It didn't work. So, and we don't, it's fine by us. They might be delayed, and we will officially announce as soon as we know that we have all the timesheets filled out. So you will know once that phase is concluded. The next question comes around salary expectations. So do you have any tips on salary expectation? this very much depends, on the industry, on the role or the company that you are asking about. But I would say, I don't know, Andy, what you think, but like the Glassdoor is always a good start point. So glassdoor.com, then you filter by the company and you try to read as many feedback that was given also around the salary. And what we also like to share as a resource for our students to actually get the answers of this type, like how to negotiate a salary or what are the trends within specific industry, is Quora. So there you can filter a lot of questions. So there's questions then answered by experts or other colleagues who are having the same role. So I would advise you to kind of check these websites. We can also share afterwards if you're okay with that. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is that salary expectations are always very difficult to benchmark, purely because there's so many variables that come into play, as Millie mentioned, ranging from the company to your previous experience, to the role, to the location. And so, yeah, it's very, very difficult to get accurate information on this. The only thing that I would also suggest is that keep having conversations with other people about it. And whilst this might sound awkward to talk about salaries, obviously you can talk in general terms and talk in brackets. And so, asking questions such as, what would a typical insert job title make at company X? And those type of questions are are valid to ask. I would suggest maybe you don't go around asking the employers that as the only question. Following the tips earlier. But you speak to your peers, speak to other people in the industry, and you can hopefully build up a better picture over time of what the industry averages are. It's always a really tough one, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. So let's see the next question. If it's possible to upload the slides, yes, we will. This is going to come as a follow-up to this webinar. You will get all of these slides, so you will have the agenda, program, and all the tips that we shared. So no problem. Question coming from Christian. Do you know what kinds of roles Bertelsmann is looking to fill? They've sent a link to their careers website, but that's very general and not even really data or software focused. Yeah, they are sharing with us job offers, and we are trying to kind of see the trend. But yeah, definitely they are all about data scientists, data engineers, data analysts from junior to senior, IT data architects, SQL developers, data engineers. So I think even from a business perspective, business intelligence experts, yeah, I think this is the area that they are almost constantly hiring for. So all about data, I would say, for Bertelsmann.
And one thing I would like to add at this point is even if a company on the face of it doesn't have any roles that you would perceive to be of interest to you or is perceived to be a good match, it's always worth having the conversation. Because, as I mentioned earlier, you never know what's going to come of that connection at a later stage. Maybe that employer isn't hiring for any roles right now, but in 6 months' time, or maybe even sooner, maybe they will have a need for that particular role. And if you've made a good impression at the event, then maybe you'll be top of mind for them to reach out to. And so, having interesting conversations is always worthwhile, even if you perceive the employer to not necessarily be relevant right now.
Yeah. So we have a question, will we need to bring our laptops with us? This is up to you. I don't think you will necessarily need them. We will have power stations that you can charge if you need it, but it's not something that you're obliged to. Next one.
The only thing about bringing your laptop, I would suggest, is if there's a particular project or something that you would like to showcase to an employer. If you foresee the opportunity to really put your best foot forward and present something that you've worked on in the past that is highly relevant to a particular company, then maybe it's worthwhile. But as Millie said, it's not something that's required.
Yeah, it's up to you. Now we have a question. Is there a minimum or maximum number of interviews per student? So when we opened up the registration process, we kind of left that on the responsibility on side of students and companies, and we said a maximum 3 interviews per student. So yeah, companies are reaching out, so we cannot monitor all of it, but yeah, it should be maximum 3 per student. There is no minimum. We didn't want to kind of influence that. Process was done completely by hiring partners, so they are reaching out. Does hiring partners like Audi and Jaguar Land Rover expect candidates that have experience into computer science but want to move a new area such as SDC?
Well, to be honest, that's a really tough question for us to answer personally. I think these are the types of questions that you would be best directed to the companies on the day of the event. The only thing I could say is that all the companies have they know the caliber of students that are attending the event, and the overall reaction has been extremely positive, and so. These are companies who are here voluntarily. They are actively recruiting from Udacity's student base, and they're excited to meet you. With regards to their exact requirements, I couldn't speak to that, but you can always direct those questions to them on the day.
Yeah, and I would advise, if this is your personal development goal, try to share that with them, because that will show that you are ready to learn, ready to grow. And this is the motivation that I was talking about previously. They are very, even, if you don't make it now at this very event, maybe you will follow up after some time, after you already gather some experience, but be sure to talk and actually ask this question directly to the companies, because I think they can answer to you best. So going towards the next one, do I have to prepare a business card? I found that I don't have one. I would say it would be good, because this is the way for you also to kind of leave the mark in their lives. We have a website that we like to share with our students. It's called
moo.com.
Yeah.
Again, just another piece of advice coming back to this is that your personal brand is something that you should be thinking about here. And so, it's all about the impression that you give to somebody. And so if you have a kind of clean business card in a particular color scheme, as an example, which might then match your the color scheme of your online portfolio, and you basically are literally building a brand around yourself. It's a way that it's going to grab people's attention, and so this isn't just specific for this advice for this event. I'm sorry, but something to maybe think about more broadly is how do people remember you, and are you leaving the best impression possible? So whilst it's not necessary to have business cards, it's probably a nice to have.
Yeah, I agree. Then the next question is a very interesting one. Should I bring my CV in German as well? Which language are the recruiters expected to speak during the interview? I think when it comes to German companies, they are very willing to be bilingual and do interviews accordingly. Like if you are coming from out of Germany, in English, but maybe your German is also good, so in German. For Jaguar Land Rover coming from UK, definitely English. So I would say if you have copies in both languages, I would bring both languages. But it's actually how you agree with the companies in what language the interview should be. We can follow up on this with every hiring partner just to make this clear, and then we will send you this information. But I would say it's pretty bilingual when it comes to German and English, so be prepared to have also CVs in both languages.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the event as a whole, across the whole agenda, will primarily be taking place in English.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any requirement for German, because we've got students coming from all over Europe. And not just that, but also the majority of tech jobs require English as well. And so that's why, even Udacity as a company, we haven't chosen to localize any of the nanodegree programs into German language, because we realize that it's actually a benefit for students to learn in English, because all of the resources around the tech industry are also in English, whether that be from getting help on Stack Exchange or documentation on different tooling. And so primarily everything is going to be in English. So that's just a bit of background as to why.
Yeah. So I will pick up these last 3 questions, and then that is it. So since it's not a traditional career fair, is there an approximate time that one can expect for the employment confirmation after the event? It will really depend on the hiring partner. However, we will follow up on them as soon as possible, and also encourage them to follow up with the candidates. So I think since this is kind of also not a private event, but in a way exclusive event that we do with our grads, we will make sure that they follow up, and that we kind of know what are the next steps for each student who has been invited for the interview. Yeah,
absolutely. And just to set expectations here, I think the way to think about this is a bit like a first date, in the sense that this is really an opportunity for you and the employers to get a first taste of each other. And the interviews that are going to be pre-scheduled are a first interview, and it's very, very unlikely with any company in any industry that a job offer would be extended after the first meeting. I'm not going to say that it won't happen, but I would just want to set expectations that it's unlikely to happen. And so, there will of course be follow-up steps after the event. And hopefully many people will be invited to further rounds for follow-up interviews and progress into the hiring funnel of these companies. But I would be shocked, but very ecstatic, in fact, if any formal offers came straight off the back of these first interviews.
I'm actually very much looking forward to hearing about this. So keep me posted also if this happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's one thing we would love to hear is, please do share any anecdotes or success stories around this. We want to hear from you.
Any internship position in this Accelerate event? I'm still a student, so companies have not shared internship position. Junior position, yes, but this is a great question to ask at the info booth, actually, how one starts a career at the specific company. So different companies have different starting points or rotate programs. I don't know how they're called. So this is a great question to actually ask. And the last one, is it appropriate to use my current business card from my employer?
I would suggest that's not advisable. Only because your current business card from your current employer is going to have your work email address on it, and so not only would that not give the best signals to any employers that you give the card to, but then you're going to have emails coming into your work inbox from employers that you're hopefully pursuing a job with. And so, I would strongly recommend that if you bring business cards, please make them personal business cards with your personal email address. And then I would recommend that if you want to have a tagline on the card, you could have the field that you work in. So I wouldn't necessarily include your current job title either. Your business card is a way to give your contact details alongside your CV. And obviously your CV has your current position or your previous experience listed. And so your business card really just needs to be a way for somebody to get back in touch with you in the most convenient way.
Yeah, great. So thank you for your questions. I will just jump before we wrap up. I would like to share final reminders for you. This is very important because this will help us run the event smoothly. First of all, it is important for the day of for us to run the registration that you redeem your Eventbrite ticket. So we have created Udacity Accelerate Eventbrite page. We have already shared this with you via email. Maybe someone missed it, so we will share this page again. And please make sure that you get your ticket, because then once you're there, we will be able to scan the code and let you in. So whoever is coming, please confirm by taking the ticket. Another important reminder is please make your student profile public. So if you go to your student profile from the classroom, there's a little button that you can just click and make your public profile public, because this is how recruiters can see the complete overview of your profile and the projects and everything that is connected to nanodegree program. So please make sure that this is done before the event. And last but not least, please join us at our Udacity Accelerate Facebook group. We will be sending some updates. We have this 16 days ahead of us. We will be sharing also all the tips and answering your questions. So just use it, and yeah, that would be it. So we are very, very looking forward to meet you finally. And don't forget that if you have any further question, you can always write to eu/support@udacity.com.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and really looking forward to meeting you in Berlin. It's going to be a great day, and we've got a really packed schedule for you all. And so, yeah, lots of connections to be made, and yeah, looking forward to meeting you all then.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.